Welcome back, guys. Um what's going on here? So, in the previous video, we looked at variable hoisting and function hoisting, and over here, what we are going to touch upon is something we have already discussed a lot, but still, we will just take it up as a separate subject right now, which is scope. Okay, and then we'll see that even the hoisting that we have talked about, right, that goes hand in hand with the scope. Okay, so let me first of all do something which I have been doing in all my videos, which is like I will just save this as a new file first. Now let me just take out the unnecessary parts. Okay, so this much is fine, I guess. Or otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just keep this because we still have the phases to deal with. And now let me show you something else. So at first, let's try to see something. Okay. And over here, we'll say hello. Now, let me just take this out so that it doesn't confuse you. And let's execute this. Okay, so if you have got what I was trying to do is, I was trying to create a variable and a function with the same name here. Okay, say hello is actually being defined as a method member function. So essentially what will happen is that in the memory creation phase, we would have got a say hello as a variable and assigned, of course, undefined, initialized to undefined as part of hoisting, as part of variable hoisting. Okay, and now when it went and saw the function say hello, what it did is it actually did the function hoisting. So we actually have the function body over there. So whatever the declaration, right? Okay. And then that is available for execution. But now when we execute say hello like this, it uses So now I changed it a bit, the program, because at the console.log I brought it in the beginning. So instead of calling the function, it would be just doing a console log using the say hello name, right? And this is where we would actually see the hoisting done, because the effect of hoisting, so to say, because the variable is available before it is declared, right? So maybe I'll write it over here. The member is available before being declared. Okay, so that is where the hoisting will occur. Now if this is the case, let me just take out this as well. Okay, so in this case what will happen is that the say hello is first of all treated as this member variable, and it will be having undefined. This is the variable hoisting. Now later on we have the JavaScript engine sees that say hello is actually a function, member function declaration. So what then it will happen is that this will be replaced by this. Okay, so this is no more. So basically now the say hello variable has been assigned the say hello function, basically the function body. So now if we execute this, due to the hoisting, we should actually get the function behavior. Okay, so let me just clear this thing. So you see, so it is being treated now as a function. So now let me just try to do something else. Yeah, so let me put this say hello equal to 10. Okay, even then it doesn't change, and that's because member declarations are not hoisted. This is not hoisted, and therefore nothing changes here. This picture doesn't change. Okay, now what else can we do? Now let us try to do something like this. Okay, now let us see what happens over here. And still we see that this is behaving as a function. So over here it sees this say hello, and this is being stored, is being hoisted as a function, and then it sees this say hello, which should be a member declaration, but since it is the same name, that is why it is being treated as a function over here. Okay, now what we can do here to show this is this. Okay, now let's see. So now you see that the second one is the variable hoisted. So what that essentially means that this is not variable hoisted because we have a function with same name. Okay, And now we can just play around this a lot, right? So let's say that let me do something else over here. Okay, so let me just put this comment out this. Okay. Okay, so this is commented out. We do have this one now. Now, till now, we were having this. Okay. Now, let's see. As you see, now the same thing has been marked as undefined. So, what this means is essentially function hoisting will override variable hoisted if with same name. Okay, I hope that's very clear. We can also do one more thing. So instead of a named function, what we can do is we can create an anonymous function. So over here, I'll instead of this one create say hello. Okay. So now we have two say hellos. One say hello is this function, the other say hello is this variable. And now let's see what happens if we call console log say hello. What do we get? We get undefined. Why so? Now that's because function expressions are not hoisted. This is not hoisted. This will not be hoisted because it is a function expression, and hence it will just get this variable which is there, right? If you still want to debate about this, then let me just do this and let's see. So still it's undefined. So in this case, it doesn't matter from where it is coming, right? In this case, it doesn't matter from where it is coming. It's being just undefined. Okay, so that's that. What we are going to see now is a bit different. Okay, so basically, I have a different example over here. First and foremost, regarding scopes, you need to remember one thing for sure, is that something that I have already talked about previously, is that JavaScript supports lexical scopes. Okay, and lexical as in positional or ordering. Okay, now how that affects the scope is that uh, the variables that you will have access to will very much depend on the position where you are placed inside the program. So two things are very important from that context. One is that global variables can be accessed and modified from any other scope Okay, so global is definitely one scope. Global scope. And the other kind of scope is that you can have multiple local scopes within the global scope. And each local scope is an isolated entity. And so variables that belong to that scope are confined to that specific scope. I mean, uh, so this is the local scope. Okay, so it's something like this. Again, like consider this as a house. Notepad is not very good for drawing things, but still. Okay. Yeah. So let's say that this is a very big house. Now just let me just call it India. Okay. So I'm kind of saying that this is my global scope. And this is the global scope is created for you automatically. You don't have control on the creation of a global scope. Okay, so in the browser, for example, like if you go to the browser and you just print something in the console or declare something in the console, that becomes available to the global scope. And anytime you try to print something, if that is available, then you definitely know, for example, window object, right? Window object is available from the global scope. Okay, so in our case, we're just talking about, let's say, India, and we don't know anything outside India. We don't even know that there's a world existing outside India. For that matter, our global scope is all across India. Okay, and now inside this, let's say we just form another house. Okay, so this is another house. Now inside this house, if we define a person like Ram, okay, then what that means is that Ram is available only within that scope. So this is a local scope. Let's just say that this is a state. Okay, so this is West Bengal, and so Ram, with when we create the house for West Bengal, we actually create a new local scope within our global scope. Okay, and similarly, let's say we have another scope created for, let's say, Delhi. This is another local scope. Okay, this is another local scope. The diagram is becoming a bit messy. Okay, so now what that means is that this Ram is, nobody recognizes Ram for that matter if you are calling it, if you are calling Ram inside Delhi. Okay, so Ram, I don't know who is Ram. Is Ram a person? Is Ram an object? I don't know. But if you ask, if you are inside West Bengal, and if you're saying that, can you please call Ram, then that context is knowing who is Ram. Okay, so that's the local scope, and which means that we can have multiple local scopes within the global scope, and each local scope is an isolated entity. So variables that belong to a scope is confined to that specific scope. However, global variables can be accessed and modified from any scope. So now, let's say over here, we have Sham. Okay, so we have a person called Sham in the global scope. All over India, anybody knows Sham. Okay, I mean, that must be something like a great person or something like that, right? To be recognized all over India, but that's what it is, the global scope. So inside West Bengal, if you are asking about Sham, we definitely know who is Sham. Inside Delhi, if you're asking about Sham, yes, we know who is Sham. Okay, so probably that's giving a better picture, right? So now with that kind of thing, I'm just, let's say, I'll just put this thing over here. Now I have this program. Okay, so there is a message declared, and it's initialized to hello. Obviously, this is globally scoped, right? Anything declared in the page, in the script, is globally scoped. Now we have a function change message. Okay. Now this change message inside is accessing message variable. It's accessible, right? Because a message is the global scope. It's the sham, right? So we can do that. And then we can modify message to hey and then print it again. And we should expect hey to be printed, right? And then we come out of the function. Even if we come out of the function and then we do console log, we will get the message. We will be we will be able to access message, because again message is global and we are inside the global scope, right? So sham is accessible from anywhere within India as well as within West Bengal and Delhi. And then again, so yeah, so now if we execute this, then what should we get? So if we start from here, then first of all we should get hello for one, and then change message is being called, and then we should get hello again. Next time we should get hey, and then finally we should get hey. So hello, hey, hello, hello, hey, hey should be the thing. Let us see. Hello, hello, hey, hey, right? Okay, so now we'll go to another example. To show how essentially scope and hoisting are so much tied to each other. Okay, so instead of this example, just take away this example and I'll put another example over here. So in this one, what do we have? So again, we have, oh, just beg your pardon, like I have a wrong example, I think. Let me just take you to the right example. Okay, so we have this modified example over here. Now this looks very similar to what we did previously. There are some subtle differences though. So over here we have this message variable with a hello text initialized, and then here we have a function called show message. In that we are actually logging the message variable, okay, and then we have this greet as, okay, let me just change this to message over here. So now we have a same name variable declared with a hey, right? And then we are again showing this in the log and the console. So what do you think if I execute this program, what will happen? Just yeah. So take a moment to see this code and try to predict the output. Okay, so now let's take a look at this from our understanding of variable hoisting and function hoisting as well as scope. Okay, so scope, which means global and local, and variable hoisting and function hoisting. Okay, so this is a message, and let's look at this, right? So memory creation phase, what do we have? So we have, I mean, if we are thinking about the JavaScript engine again, so gets message as a member declaration, it's hosted, oh, it's hoisted. And yeah, initialized to undefined, and then comes show message, along with its body. Now let's look at something over here. So when we talk about hoisting, till now we were talking about variable hoisting and function hoisting. However, we need to understand that hoisting itself works on a scope. Okay, so that means essentially there is going to be hoisting at the India level, there is going to be hoisting at the West Bengal level, there is going to be hoisting at the Delhi level. Okay, so there is going to be hoisting here, there is going to be hoisting here, just messed it up again. Okay, and there is going to be hoisting here as well. Okay, so now if we talk about that, the first thing then, even before hoisting comes into picture, is the scope. And so if we look at this from scope perspective, how many scopes are there? So there is always one global scope, as we already discussed. So if we think about that, so global scope, what do we have? We have message as undefined, and we have this show message, correct, as a function declaration. And then that's all, right? That's all. Now, no, that's not all. The thing is, we will have to see that there is a house getting created over here whenever we are creating a function, right? So below creates a local scope, and hence we have over here local scope 1. Okay, so this is our local scope 1, and over here we do have another set of hoisting to do, and there is a var here, which means there's a variable member declaration, and hence we have another message equal to undefined. And mind you, this is different than this. These are totally two different scopes. Okay, and what we can even do is that we can create another function. Okay, and over here we can say this is show message 1, this is show message 2. Okay, it's always good practice to put semicolons. Okay, now over here I say I can just say show hello 1, and here I would say show hello 2. Okay, so yeah, so now what happened over here is that we have a second local scope, right? We have a second local scope, and again here we have defined message, which is hoisted for undefined. So if you think about it, this is how this will execute, and we'll let me just put it over here. Show message 2 as well. So now if I execute this, first thing it will start at is this line, right? Now over here, if you look at message, then message at this time is going to be which scope. That's important first. Okay, so I'm right now in the global context, and hence I'll be accessing the variables in the global scope. Okay, and hence this should print out hello to me, because at this time it is initialized with hello, and we are not going to have the hoisted value over here because the global has already initialized this before this line. Okay, so now this is having the hello in the value. Now if I go to show message, the next line, show message 1. Show message 1, what is it trying to do? It's making a console log, and here we are actually in local to this particular function, right? Or we can say local 1. So this message is it the global or not? That's the question. Now we are in the local. That's correct. So should it be using message, this message, or should it be using the global message? That's a wonderful question, right? Now in this case what happens is it looks into the context which it has created. This, by the way, is called, of course, the the end result of this is basically called something execution context, which is being used when it is getting executed. So in the execution context, we already have message defined in the local scope, and this is due to the hoisting. However, that is undefined, and hence since it is defined in local, it will use the hoisted value over here, and it will print here undefined. Hoisted because this is getting available before it is being declared. Right? And now next line. If you come to the next line, we have initialized this. And by the way, remember that initializations are not hoisted. That's why we got undefined over here. Now, oh, I'm so sorry, like this is, I should have written there because we are in the show message 1. Okay. So now after this, what happens is it initializes this, and now this will not use the hoisted. It will rather use the local value, and hence this will be show hello 1. Okay. Now we're going to call show message 2, comes over here. Let me make this 4 and 5. Now this is going to be in a different scope, which is our local scope 2. So in the local scope 2, we again have message undefined, and hence we will be having the same thing over here, and the same thing will happen here. Essentially this will not be show hello 1 but show hello 2, again proving the fact that variables defined within one local scope can never use variables defined within another local scope. Okay, and that is why all the thing about private and privacy are coming into picture here. It's basically nothing but abstraction. Okay, so now let's execute this once. Okay, so now let's see. First we have hello, right? Next we have undefined. Next we have show hello 1, and next we have undefined, and next we have show hello 2. Okay, and finally we are printing this, which is again going to be global, which has not changed yet by anybody, and hence this is still hello. Okay, now let me just change this a bit, and in the show message 2 let me just take out this var. What will happen now? Our execution context will change for local scope 2. We will not have this because there is no variable declaration. Okay, so now what happens is that this is going to be accessing global because global is always available. And what about this? This one will also access global. So this would say instead now hello, and this would also be global, and this would say show hello 2. So now let me just check the output of this. Just save this. So now it's going to be, at first it should be hello as usual, and then it should be undefined, and then show hello 1, and then it should not be undefined, it should be hello because we are using global, and then it should be again show hello 2. Okay, and then it will be okay. So this also will be changed now because we have changed the global has been changed from local scope, right? See what has changed? 4. This one is hello and that one was undefined. And then this one is also changed. Okay, so now I hope this is pretty clear. So I'm going to wrap up this video with this. Okay, in the next video we're going to see how this way of looking at hoisting and scope and how they work together will actually lead to another concept. Okay, thank you.